Hello everyone and welcome back. Zeb here, back to bring you another top 3 in Terraria. Today we're going to be going over the top 3 pre-hard mode mage weapons. So this is including all mage weapons, and if it's mage, it is included in this list. So kicking it right off, on number 3 here is Medusa's Head. Medusa's Head is a new addition of weapons in Terraria 1.3. A super powerful weapon if you haven't already seen or used it. The only sad thing is it won't hit these mannequins here, so I can't show you against that, but I will show you all this fun action of it killing the bosses while I talk about it. So you'll see that it's going to be destroying the Eater Worlds and the brain and all that with ease. Anything segmented, Medusa's Head is going to do a great job against killing. So started off, does a really high amount of base damage at 28 magic damage with a very fast speed. Not a lot of knockback, but only uses 4 mana, which is incredibly low. Like, it really is not that much at all, especially if you have a mana regeneration potion. It's not that much. So going more on the attacking of this, you can click it once and it'll do a quick shot there, and she'll show her spooky face and it'll emit light. That light is going to hit any enemy within a 50 block radius. So it'll hit anything. It'll hit all the segments of Eater of Worlds that are on screen within the direction that you're firing it within a 50 block radius. There's no limitation to how many segments or enemies that it can hit, which just makes it very, very powerful. And you can charge it up to 3 seconds, and when released at 3 seconds, it'll automatically discharge and do an immense amount of damage, up to over 100 damage on enemies, which is incredible for a pre-hard mode weapon. Every second that the weapon is charged is that many times more damage that it's going to do. So 2 seconds charge is going to do 2 times more damage, and 3 seconds, which is the max, is going to do 3 times the amount of damage on a unit. But with all that being said, Medusa's Head is a very difficult weapon to get, which is why it is landing itself on its number 3 position here instead of higher. If it was easier to get, it would definitely be higher in the rankings, but it's not. There are a few flaws of this weapon, and we're going to go over that. First flaw is, like I said, the difficulty of obtaining this weapon. The only way to obtain Medusa's Head is by killing Medusa in the marble biome, which, one, you're going to have to find the marble biome, and technically you could find this as early as you want in the game, but you're going to have to kill Medusa. Medusa is a very difficult enemy to kill, and on top of that, her drop rate of this is pretty low. Being at around a 1% drop chance of dropping the head, that is a low drop rate, especially since you're not going to find too many Medusas. You can camp out in a marble biome, but she will spawn relatively one after another, so the drop chance is really difficult. On that, she's super hard to kill. She will turn you into stone and kill you probably before you're going to be able to kill her, along with all the other hard enemies around marble biomes, especially the Hoplites. They do a lot of damage. She'll turn you to stone. They're going to throw spears into your face. It's not going to be a good day. So that is also why this is at number 3. It's so hard to get the weapon without dying, unless you have a nice crazy contraption of a farming system for her. It is going to be relatively difficult for you to obtain the weapon. Also on that, it does great damage versus segmented enemies, but against non-segmented enemies or bosses, I'm going to go more along the lines of bosses here, since, you know, other enemies, it'll do pretty good against mobs. But against unsegmented bosses, such as even the eye, but the eye's a little easier, not a good example. The Skeletron, it's not going to be that good. Even against the brain, if you use it against the brain, the tissue samples will be destroyed, but then it's actually very difficult to kill the brain after the tissue samples are gone, just with Medusa's Head, just for the fact that there's no knockback to it, so the brain's just going to constantly run into you. And trust me, I've tried many times, and I died a few times before I actually completed that fight against the brain of Medusa's Head because of that reason. So against unsegmented enemies and bosses, it's also not the best weapon. So that is why it is going to land itself at its number 3 spot here. Coming in at our number 2 top pick, everybody, is going to be the Water Bolt. Now, most of you probably have heard of the Water Bolt. You know that it is an amazing mage weapon, and we're going to go over why it is number 2 on the mage weapons list. So, Water Bolt, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you where you're going to get this. Water Bolt is normally found in the dungeon area after killing Skeletron. You can go down to the dungeon, you can knock books off the shelf, and you will find eventually a Water Bolt being one of those books that you knock off the shelves there. But that being said, if you're really lucky enough, sometimes you can even get this before killing Skeletron, as it might be one of the few books that are above the area where the Dungeon Guardians spawn. But if you're unlucky like me and that never happens to you, for the sake of argument, I'm going to say that this is a mid-level weapon that you get after killing Skeletron and going into the dungeon, because that is normally what happens. If you're lucky enough to get it before then, awesome for you. You just got past a lot of bosses very easily by getting this weapon earlier on. So, going into the attack of the Water Bolt. The Water Bolt's going to fire a very slow-moving projectile, looks like a water bolt, as it says. It ricochets up to 5 times off of walls and will pass through enemies, so it hits up to 10 enemies actually. So it can ricochet and still hit up to 10 times, and I'll show you right here on the dummies that it's going to go through 10 dummies before it disappearing. It'll also fly for 30 seconds before disappearing, so if your ricochet time is longer than that, it will disappear before it ricochets 5 times if the walls are that far apart. It has a pretty good base magic damage of 19, and it also shoots incredibly fast. It does use 10 mana though, so it is a little bit of mana. You will need mana pots to continuously fire this. You'll run out of mana relatively quickly if you don't, but the damage that it does, and it also passes so slow sometimes through the air that it will hit enemies more than once and even bosses quite a few times before actually passing through them. It makes fighting a lot of bosses very, very easy, or just helps you out a lot. And especially if you build an arena around that boss where it's going to have walls to ricochet off of, no matter what the boss is, if it's Skeletron or whoever, as long as you put some walls there where it's going to ricochet, you can have so many of these going at once, hitting the boss there. It works really great against the Brain if you wanted to farm them. I know a lot of times you'll kill the Brain before you kill Skeletron, but even killing the Queen Bee with this would be really, really great because it'll bounce all around her beehive and really, really mess her up. Now, I know a lot of you say maybe the Water Bolt might be the #1 top pick, and it very well could be. It was very close between this and the #1, but the only reason I left it at #2 was the fact that it is more of a mid-level weapon after killing Skeletron, so you might not be able to use this against Skeletron. You might only be able to use it against the Queen, and maybe the Wall of Flesh. It definitely wouldn't be a thing to say that you couldn't use it against that, but its effectiveness might be dissipated for the fact of when you can get it in the game normally than other weapons that might help you out a lot greater. And that is why it is going to earn itself its #2 spot on this list, everyone. And coming in at our #1 spot, everyone, is going to be the Space Gun. So for this, I actually have the Meteorite armor on with the Space Gun, because if you don't know, the Meteorite armor allows a Space Gun to cost 0 mana, which is also one of the best effects of it, that you have unlimited ammo on when you have it. That and Meteorite armor is relatively good, giving you 5, 6, and 5 defense for its set, increases your magic damage, and gives the gun no mana cost. So that kind of goes along with the Space Gun. I don't want that to skew, your opinion on the Space Gun or not, but the Space Gun, I'm going to give it its #1 top spot for many reasons here. One, we're going to go with the attack on it. It does 22 base magic damage, very fast speed. You can hold the trigger down to attack, which again, as you know, is very, very nice. And it has a piercing effect of enemies. It's going to hit up to 3 enemies, so it'll shoot through 2 of them and then hit the 3rd one. So it pierces 2 enemies. So it does go through 3 enemies, which is also great for killing bosses. It'll hit them 2 to 3 times while going through them. Has great accuracy as it shoots perfectly straight, shoots very fast. You'll never run out of ammo with it. And you can get this really early in the game, because you will get a 50% chance of a meteorite falling once you go and destroy a Crimson Heart or a Shadow Orb, depending on which world you have, and you can kill up to 2 of those before summoning the boss. So if you break 2 of those, you have a really good chance of getting a meteorite to fall on your next night or day, or whatever the sequence is of that. And you can easily go mine that. You can throw bombs at it and go get yourself a bunch of meteor immediately and get this gun very early on, and that will help you out immensely throughout the game. You can get this weapon before fighting any boss, so once you go fight the bosses, you're fighting the Eye, the Brain, Skeletron. This gun could probably, the setup could probably kill every pre-hard mode boss, even the Eater of Worlds. I would definitely say I wouldn't have a problem with that, just because of the massive range that it has. and the speed. It does great. It'll pierce, you know, the little hungries that come out to eat you. It'll do a great job of killing them. It's an all-around great weapon, which is why it is getting itself its #1 top spot. That and just the fact that you can get it so early, and I take that into consideration when I make these lists, is that how useful is it to you? And this weapon might be stronger than the other, but if you're getting it so late in pre-hard mode, does it really matter? Because you're not going to be able to use it for that long, and it's, you know, you already had to kill 3 or 4 bosses before you could even get it. This one, you can get this weapon before you have to kill any bosses, and it'll help you kill all those bosses. Just a quick thing on it, all you need to craft the space gun is 20 meteorite bars. So again, not that much. And then you can easily, 1 meteorite will usually give you enough meteorite to get the full meteorite armor set and the space gun easily. Just like that, and you have it. So the easiness of acquiring this gun, and the early on that you can acquire this gun, and again, the fact that it penetrates 3 enemies, shoots perfectly straight, unlimited ammo on it, high damage, just makes it earn its top spot at #1. If you disagree with this list, leave your suggestions in comments down below on what you think should be the #1, 2, or 3 top pick. If I left any magic weapon out that you think that should have been in here instead of one of the other ones. If you liked the video, everyone, please leave a like for it, and I'll see you all for the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye!